Alright guys, welcome back to this video series on reassembling this NP208 transfer case. And when we left off the last video, I had installed the synchronizer gear onto the main shaft. But I realized while I was getting ready to get this next shift fork done that I had actually put the wrong centerpiece on the shift fork that's already in there. I had put the short piece on here and I needed the long piece because the short piece, you can see the difference between the two of them right here. The short piece goes on the upper shift fork. So what I've got to do is I've got to pull the main shaft back out, and I've got to pull the shift fork back out and replace that little plastic piece. So it should be just a matter of lifting up on the main shaft. I'll go ahead and turn it over. Well, I can't really turn it over. Let me set it down somewhere. Set it down. And I'm dropping crap. All my stuff here trying to get ready, but you know, what we got to do is we've got to pull this pin out right here that holds the shift fork in. So that's got to come out, and then we've got to rotate this shift fork, and we've got to kind of pick up on this assembly to rotate it like that. And then we've got to lift this whole assembly out to get this shift fork. Room right there. Now I should have realized when I put this in it was wrong. It don't really fit it good. So we'll swap these out right quick and put the longer one in. And the longer one don't fit great, but it does fit a little bit better. Make sure that turn right. There it goes. Alright. So we'll put the longer one back on, put it back on the planetary gear set, set the whole assembly back in. As we can. Go in now. Got to get lined up on that gear. Come on. It ain't that difficult. So try to make it difficult. Y'all just slide right back over that gear. Come on now. I think the issue is my input shafts won't move with me. There she goes. Alright. We got that little truss bearing that needs to be centered in the middle here. Then we've got to lift it back up and get this that lifted back in, which is no big deal. Now when you put this thing back, this rod back in, make sure that the really beveled end goes up. It's the flatter end that goes down. And we'll line that up with that hole. Like that. And now we're ready to put the main shaft back in, but I want to go ahead and fix my shift fork before we do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it on as we slide the main shaft back in. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the little plastic ends on. Or try to. There it goes. And the center one there. And then the other end one is here somewhere. What do I do with it? The main shaft's in my way. I can't see what I got. Fall off. Let me get this main shaft out of my way a little bit right here. Stick that in. Right. There it is. Okay. Alright, so I got all 3 plastic pieces on. And now I need to put this piece here on. And it goes like this. Alright, that's got to slide on this rod as I set this. Golly. As I set this main shaft down, I'm going to go ahead and install this and install that, and get this main shaft down like that. Alright, now here's the issue I see is this right here is way up there, and it don't need to be way up there. This actually needs to be a little further down, so let me move this. I'm gonna hook my bracket back up on this shifter here so I can work it. Hopefully. Put the nut back on here. I think what I've got is it's in 4 low. And I need it to go high. We need to get this set in. Now you notice now that this, when it's in 4 high, that this ring should fit down in these, in this screw. So I'm gonna go back to right here and make sure that seat's good. And that just don't look right, but I guess it is right. This is what actually, this shifter right here is what actually engages the chain. This is what actually puts it in 4-wheel drive right here. The other shifter just goes from high and low range. That's where we want it, right there. Yeah. Alright. And so this is gonna basically lock up on this brass locking ring right here, synchronize it. Remember, on the 208s, you can put it in forward drive as you're rolling under, I think it's under 30 miles an hour. But to go to low range, you actually have to go to neutral and then shift it into low range. So right now we're in, I believe we're going to be in neutral. I think this is all the way back. This is in the neutral position, so it's not engaging the forward drive mechanism. And when we go to 4 high, we're actually going to be up here on this. We're actually going to lift this up like that and engage it. But first, I want to make sure that's seated well, and then we've got to put our roller bearings in here. We've got one more snap ring that goes on. I think it goes on after the gear's on, but we do have some little rings that's going to go on here. I got to get those. So now I just got to figure out which way this big washer goes. I believe it goes down. Sure, look in the book, but we basically got 3 of these little rings here, if you can see them, and that's going to separate our bearings, our roller bearings. So we're going to have one on the bottom, one in the middle, and one on the top. So we'll install the first one. If I can zoom in. The first one we're going to put over the top here, go down, and it'll go right on down there. And then we'll put a row of 60 roller bearings. Put another one of these right here in the middle, another row of 60 roller bearings, and another one on top of that. So once we get that on, this gear here, the little teeth here will go down like that. So that's going to slide down and sit on there like that. And when this shifter comes up, this piece here should engage this gear with the bottom gear. And that's what actually makes this turn the forward drive mechanism. Like I said, right now it's in neutral, so it shouldn't be turning. Alright, so I guess the first thing we need to do is go ahead and start, I'm going to go ahead and put the output shaft in right here. So let me go get that and we'll set that in there. Alright, so here's our forward drive output shaft. We'll notice on the side that goes down, we've got a thrust bearing. You can see we've got a thrust bearing, and we've got a small, thin, very thin thrust washer. Okay. Alright, so the bearing, we're also supposed to have, I think, another thrust washer that sits right here. And if I ain't mistaken, that's what's in these 2 packs. In the small parts kit, we've got these 2 packs of these, and I believe that's where they go. There's one on each side of that thrust bearing. Get this pack open here on the knife. So our first one will go here, and then we've got a thrust bearing that goes there, and a very thin one here. They're about the same though. So we have a very small thrust bearing that goes here, and I don't know if there's a certain way that's supposed to go down. You can tell the big difference between the new and the old thrust bearings. The old one has the bearings pretty far apart compared to the new one. So more bearings than the new one, but I don't know whether that really makes a whole hill of beans. But anyway, we're going to put a little bit of grease on this new bearing, just a little bit, and also on the thrust washers. I'm not trying to pack these bearings, I just want to give them a good little thin coating so they don't start up dry. Right, so then we'll put a little coating on this thrust washer. Right, we'll stack this bearing up, and I'm looking like this is a different type of end than that one, and I'm thinking I'm gonna put it down like that, and then we got another thrust washer in this pack that goes on top. Go ahead and just grease it up right quick, both sides, and set it on top of it like that. Now we're ready to set our gear in. I'm going to go ahead and grease the bearing surface on this gear and slide it in. That. And then we'll notice on the top here we've got a whole bunch of spacers. We've got another one of these thin thrust washers, and we've got two spacers. I don't know if y'all can see, there's two of them there, and they're pretty thick. Now, I didn't get any more of these little thin thrust washers in my kit, so we'll just have to reuse what we had. Actually, I did get a small new one, but I have no idea that that's, well, it might go there. Let's see. I don't think it's the same. No, it's a lot smaller than that. So I'm thinking, no, it don't really go there unless it goes up in the case itself. And that's it. All right. Now, according to the instructions, what you should do is take this snap ring off right here. I don't know if y'all can see the snap ring. Let's see. You can kind of see the gap right here where my finger's at. You should take this snap ring off and lift this gear up, and then slide the chain and the other gear and this gear on at the same time. So now we're ready to put all these damn needle bearings in. And this is the fun part. I think this is the part that pretty much everybody dreads, is messing with these damn needle bearings. Alright. But the trick is grease them up good and don't drop them. Alright, so I'm going to put me a good thick coat of grease on here. And you can use, I think the manual says you to use Vaseline or petroleum jelly. But I think anything that's kind of tacky will help you out. The hardest part's going to be to keep them on while we slide that gear on. And now it's just a matter of installing them. And so I'm going to speed this video up, and you can listen to some music while I put these on. Somehow I end up with a bunch of damn extras. There's no way all these extras are gonna fit on this damn thing, so I'm hoping they put a bunch of extras in this pack to in case you dropped in. But I mean, these, I don't know if y'all can see. Put them over here where you might be able to see. See how many extras are in this pack? That's kind of disconcerting. Our last ring goes over the top of these. Alright, and then I think the snap ring needs to go on. Let's make sure it's going to clear this gear. Yep. So now the snap ring goes on into this groove right here. Like that. All these look like they lined up good. And now I just need to get this snap ring off so that I can get the chain and the other gear on. This should just lift off like that. Oh, damn, y'all couldn't see it. Crap. Alright, so I took this snap ring off right here, and this gear just lifts right up from it. Alright, so now we're ready for our chain.